Hey Vsauce, Michael here. On Earth, the average piece of currency changes hands about 55 times a year. That's about once a week. With that kind of turnover, it's safe to say that statistically, in the United States, out of every 100 pieces of currency, one was most likely touched in the last year by someone who within the next year will commit murder. But how much cash, how much physical currency is there on Earth?
Not that much.
First things first, how much cash is inside a bank? Well,
not a lot.
According to the FBI, the average successful bank robbery involves $10,000.
See, I told you.
But
I told you, banks are broke.
It's usually just currency from the teller's tills. In their vaults, the average bank might have anywhere from $10,000 to $100,000.
That's it.
With some larger banks at times carrying as much as a few million in cash.
That's it.
But what about in our homes? How much loose change do we all have scattered on dressers or lost under cushions? Well, it's tough to accurately figure out the exact number, and many of the estimates vary. Last year, Lloyd's TSB announced that in the UK, the average person has about 14 pounds 15 pence just lying around. A recent survey by Visa looked at a bunch of countries and included cash left at home, the office, and in the car. Their figures are a tad higher, but agree with the U.S. Treasury's estimate a few years ago that the typical U.S. household has $90 to $100 just laying around. Which means that if just everyone in America scrounged up all of their loose change and put it in one place, they would have $15 billion.
That's like nothing. This is kind of impressive, these numbers.
That's enough to fund 357 more seasons of Arrested Development. But we are asking about how much cash there is on the entire planet.
Very cool.
Guys, the government does like fucking like $1 trillion this and that. 15 bill, it's not like for the whole country.
Planet. Well, that amount has a special name. It is called M0. It's an aggregate of all coins and banknotes. DollarDays.org's most recent estimate values this total amount, considering all currencies and countries,
USA,
at just slightly over the equivalent of
military spending.
$5 trillion US dollars. That number, the value of all of the currency on Earth, M0,
was it 800 bill in 2020?
Huge. But believe it or not, it represents less than 10% of all of the money we humans have available to spend right away. To explain, we should look at how money is born. In pretty much every country on Earth, one of the ways new money can be born involves a central bank. Now, let's say that in our country, the bank is run by Jake from Vsauce 3. He's really smart and he pays close attention to our economy. If he feels that an increase of the money supply would help us, well, he can just make more money. It's that easy. It doesn't need to be printed as currency to be born. The next step involves the commercial banks, like the Bank of Vsauce. These are the banks that you and I use. All the central bank needs to do is buy some things from these banks using the money it just made, and now the commercial banks have more money. There's another way money can be born. It involves commercial banks and gets to the heart of our question. If I go to the bank and deposit £5, the bank says, fantastic, we will hold on to this money for you, and at any time you want, you can withdraw or spend these £5.
Yeah, you would think.
The thing is, legally, banks only need to reserve a fraction of the money that they are given. It is known as fractional reserve banking, and it pretty much happens in every country. It means that if someone else comes along, like, say, Kevin from Vsauce 2, and he wants to borrow some money, say £3, the bank can lend him £3. And now whenever he wants, he can spend these £3. But here's the thing. Kevin can spend £3 and I can spend 5 for a total of 8, despite the fact that there are only £5 in the bank. New money has been born. And if we want to count all of the spendable money on Earth, we are going to need to include this type of money, the kind that fractional reserve banking creates. If we include that kind of money, we are now talking about a number much larger than M0. Economists call this figure
infinite money glitch.
M1. M1 includes all physical currencies as well as money that people can access quickly, like money in checking accounts. Globally, across all countries and all currencies, M1 is estimated to be the equivalent of 25 trillion US dollars.
AAE.
M2 is an even broader definition of money, and it includes things that you can't necessarily spend right away. For instance, savings accounts or CDs under $100,000. M2 globally is currently estimated to be the equivalent of 60 trillion US dollars. Finally,
dude, is that even a max win? I don't think that is.
This is a broad definition of money that includes all currencies, banknotes and coins, checking accounts, savings accounts, small CDs, and really big long-time deposits.
Not even one max
In the American economy, the Federal Reserve doesn't even report this figure anymore. But as a measure of eventually spendable wealth, it's real. And if we consider M3 the global money supply, that gives us a figure that is equivalent to 75 trillion US dollars. Of all that money, how much of it is yours? Well, last week over Twitter, Mark Bodie introduced me to globalrichlist.com. Enter your salary and figure out how you stack up against everyone else.
These things stay relevant.
By the way, you can act just like a central bank and control the money supply yourself. It is illegal, but...
You know what I was surprised though? I was surprised how hard it is to actually spend money and get money out.
You can technically increase the money supply by counterfeiting, and you can decrease the money supply by subtracting money.
Do what? No.
For instance, burning it. If you burn your own money, you become poorer. But because you've decreased the money supply, the power of everyone else's money goes up and they become a tiny, tiny bit richer. Of course, given the amount of money on Earth and the amount that you could probably get your hands on and burn, your effect will be quite imperceptible. One of the largest amounts of cash ever burned was done by KLF, who in the 90s, for reasons no one's still quite sure of, burned 1 million pounds worth of cash. It took them about 2 hours to burn all of that cash, and they recorded the act on video. You could also destroy money by eating it, like the rapper Tyga did, but you probably shouldn't do that either because money is dirty. A study published in Applied and Environmental Microbiology reported that the flu virus can survive on cash for 1 hour to 2 days. And other studies have found that about 7% of cash carries viable strains of dangerous bacteria, like those that cause pneumonia or those that come from feces. That is a lot of germs, and those germs might be high.
I mean, it makes sense.
Studies have found that 92% of banknotes are contaminated with traces of illegal drugs, typically cocaine. In London, that number has been as high as 99%. All it takes is for a few exposed...
Which is kind of crazy, because then you carry cash with you, or like a high amount, and you get pulled over, and a dog smells, oh, traces of drugs, boom, donezo. It's fucking seizured. That actually done.
Banknotes to circulate
your money is literally gone.
For all of the cash to become contaminated. Locked within the fibers of a banknote, there's an average of 28 micrograms of cocaine, which means that in 5,000 banknotes, there's enough cocaine for an entire line. These drug traces are nearly impossible to remove.
Out of all days, today is... from all days, we have seen the most insane concentrated Papegas in the chat of all. It's been insane.
So there's little risk of the drugs transferring to your skin. However, they can be detected by drug-sniffing dogs, and on more than one occasion, courts have forced police to return confiscated cash because even though drug dogs detected drugs on the cash,
Are you looking at the video? You're looking.
That's just how cash is. As if courts have banknotes, so there's little risk of the drugs transferring to your skin. However, they can be detected by drug-sniffing dogs, and on more than one occasion, courts have forced police to return confiscated cash because even though drug dogs detected drugs on the cash, that's just how cash is. As if that wasn't enough, cash is also not nutritious. Termites can eat cash, but to us humans, the ones who love this stuff so much,
Please have to give it back. Yeah, but you don't get it though. Loss of purchasing power is a big fucking deal, especially when you need that money. So yeah, it seized, then you're gonna get it back, right? But while it's happening, you have a big loss of purchasing power, which is like a crazy deal.
cash as we know it today, and for that matter, money, doesn't really have any intrinsic value. In a post-apocalyptic world where nothing was stable and survival was a challenge, food, clean water, ammo, weapons, antibiotics, machines, fuel, the trade and exchange and gifting of those types of things would be our economy. When what you use as money has an
Giving all your money in cash, you're dumb. And not all your money, though. If you go to make a sale or whatever, right? You send something in cash, the guy has cash, and you sell like something that's worth a good amount of money, and you carry the money back to your house or back to the bank, and while you're there, you get pulled over for some mere dog shit traffic stop, and they seize your money. It's lame as fuck. It can happen.
intrinsic
You
value.
weren't really dumb
It's
about it.
useful in and of itself. It is known as commodity money. It can also include precious metals like gold, whose rarity makes it likely to be accepted by other people for goods and services. Now, when you can safely store all of your commodities in one place and you don't need to defend them or lug them around everywhere, representative money often makes more sense. Store your valuables.
Okay, I don't care for the rest of this. That's interesting, though. I enjoyed it. Okay. What else? Then you guys show proof of where you got the money cash from? Yeah, it's fucking annoying, dude. It's so lame.